All right, with that, an easy transition to the running back love list as always. Matthew, Trey Benson.
Oh, did you hear that?
I do love the horns.
I love the horns.
Really sets the scene here.
It really does.
It almost looks fake behind us. That's how good this is.
I feel like we should have those horns whenever we start the show. Like, you know,
the audience wouldn't get sick of
would
that.
the horns lose their luster, though, if they were for us?
Anything associated with us loses its luster.
Yes.
That's why I don't understand. I don't know how we're back here. You know, like,
anyway,
God bless.
Yes,
and
the power of the Dollarita.
Power
Stop
of the dollar.
underestimating it.
Power of the Dollarita. I don't think people understand.
1-0 versus you.
Dude.
They go down very smoothly, the Dollarita.
Very smoothly.
Yes.
All right, the love list headlined by Trey Benson, number 17 overall in your Superflex Dynasty ranks here, Matthew. What do we think of Benson going to the Cardinals?
Yeah, listen, it's not a great running back class as we've talked about here, but the reason Benson made the love list here is because he's going to Arizona where his only competition is James Conner. And I get it, James Conner's pretty good. But James Conner's also missed multiple games in every single season of his NFL career. I think Trey Benson is the starting running back for the Cardinals at some point this year, and he's definitely next year locked in. So I think you could immediately see him slide in to get some third down work. I know he's a good pass catcher out of college. Very underutilized here as well. Over 11 yards per reception in college for Trey Benson when he was at Florida State. So I think there's an immediate role on a better-than-you-think offense that has a fully healthy Kyler Murray, drafted Marvin Harrison, has Michael Wilson and Trey McBride. Like, the Cardinals' offense is going to be a lot better than I think people think, and they're going to be in scoring position more often. And so Benson, immediately you can see a role there and an opportunity to do a bigger role because there's only James Conner in front of him who has struggled with health throughout his career.
Jay, while the next guy in Jalen Wright, it might seem buried at first because you look at Raheem Mostert back there, you see Devon A. Chan on that roster. Those two guys are very injury-prone, and Jalen Wright plugs into this offense quite perfectly with his size and speed.
Yeah, it feels like Jalen Wright was born to play with Mike McDaniel. That offense is going to be explosive again. It is just all about, I mean, you're going to need an injury to Mostert or A-Chan because those will be the top two guys on the depth chart. But to your point, I mean, Mostert was relatively healthy last year for the first time in what it felt like forever. But A-Chan dealt with injuries. Mostert has historically dealt with injuries almost every season. So, like, there is going to be a Jalen Wright week. Like, we are going to be talking, we're going to have a Tuesday waiver wire show built around Jalen Wright at some point in the season.
And you just, listen, Raheem Mostert's 32 years old, and, you know, I think they signed him to a new deal or an extension, but the truth is, exactly. They can get out of it after this year.
Yes.
Devon A-Chan, as you mentioned, Jay, missed 6 games last year. Is he built to, stand up to an every down role in the NFL? We know McDaniel, coming from San Francisco, likes multiple running backs as well. So just somebody with his talent landing in Miami with Mike McDaniel, good landing spot for Jalen Wright.
Matthew, one of the most interesting players, not only just in Dynasty, but I think redraft this year as a handcuff. Blake Corum goes to the Rams. Kyren Williams is going to be a favorite going into this year. Now the guy behind him kind of profiles the same.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of thought Corum might go to the Chargers, who want to run, and be reunited with his college quarterback, a college coach, I should say. But think about this. Kyren Williams is a 5th-round pick who's missed at least 5 games in both of his 2 NFL seasons. He's a smaller back. We talked about this in the preseason. We've talked about it. Can he hold up over the course of an entire NFL season? So far in his NFL career, he has not been able to. So getting somebody like Corum, who is such a workhorse and is so good around the goal line, you could see a scenario where it's 70-30, with Corum getting the 30%, but getting some red zone touches. There was a time there, I think, with Cam Akers and Malcolm Brown where McVay would like 2 series for Akers and then 1 for Brown and whoever was in. So you could see that scenario starting off. But given the fact that Corum is built to be a 20-touch-a-game guy, if not more, and given the injury history of Kyren Williams, there's a chance that if Corum becomes the starter, he becomes the starter on a great offense, because once McVay finds his guy, he sticks with him. Remember, a year ago at this time, we were talking about Cam Akers, who had worked his way out of the backfield, and Cam Akers, no one was talking about Kyren Williams at this time last year. No. So my point is we all think Kyren Williams is going to be the guy, and if I had to place a bet today, I would say he would be, but I don't think it's a sure thing. Sean McVay wants to win, and if Blake Corum gives him a better chance to win, they'll make that change. He's proven it before.
Jay, a couple of running backs on the love list in the veteran mold. Ezekiel Elliott, of course, goes back to the Cowboys and kind of looks like the guy there instantly.
Yeah, I mean, Zeke, the sneaky thing with Zeke is that he looked more athletic in New England than he did in Dallas for like the last 3 years of his Dallas tenure. He was hitting top speeds that were like faster than Tony Pollard last season with the NGS stuff. So, I mean, Zeke, if he did just get healthy and he comes into this season healthy, like the Cowboys, they've kind of been a punchline of the offseason because Jerry said they were going all in and then they did basically nothing. But this is still an elite offense. Like, this is still Dak Prescott, who finished top 3 in MVP coming off the best season of his career. And Zeke now is, like, basically unopposed in that backfield.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the point, right? I mean, like, again, it's based on what the team did in the draft. The Cowboys didn't draft anyone. I take exception to your saying he said all in and didn't do anything. He did sign Royce Freeman.
That's true. Royce could be
brought
the
back
difference.
the long snapper.
But in all seriousness, to your point about being an elite offense, last year, no team in the NFL had more red zone drives than the Dallas Cowboys. They were also 7th in goal-to-go rush attempts last year. Tony Pollard struggled there, but with his departure to Tennessee, 307 running back touches are now up for grabs, and it's between Zeke, Enrico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, Royce Freeman, Ezekiel Elliott, who Mike McCarthy knows, who Jerry Jones knows and loves. He should get the lion's share of that work. He's not going to be exciting. He's probably not going to be efficient. It's probably going to be like 3.3 yards per carry again. But you're going to look up, and he's going to have 20 touches, 80-some-odd yards, a couple of receptions, and a touchdown, like every single week. He's got immediate top 15-ish running back value, and no one's going to be excited to draft him. But massive swing in value from a guy that was sitting on his couch waiting for a job to now the starting running back of the Dallas Cowboys.
Matthew, how about Zamir White on this list as well? Because with Zamir White, the Raiders didn't really bring in top competition for him. And when he had to fill in for Josh Jacobs, he was fine in a run-heavy offense.
He was more than fine. Over 114 yards from scrimmage and 15.2 fantasy points per game in the 4 starts he made last year. He averaged 23 touches. He proved he could take a big workload. There were some questions going into the draft. Would the Raiders draft a quarterback? Would they draft some running back depth? Seems like they needed both those things. Nope. They drafted a tight end, which they actually already had. Not my job to run the Raiders. Tom Brady, get there. People are waving at us. Hey, hi, how are you? Good to see you guys. Thank you very much. Michigan man right there in the tie. But Zamir White basically gets free reign to continue the role that he did last year. Antonio Pierce is known as a player's coach. You know, the players were actively fighting for him.
Max Crosby.
Max Crosby, right? If he doesn't get the gig, trade me. We talked to him about that on Fantasy Football Happy Hour at the Super Bowl. So my point is that Zamir White earned that job last year with his performance down the stretch, and I don't think Antonio Pierce is going to go away from that, especially when you think about, I might feel differently if they'd gotten Michael Penix. But clearly with Minshew and O'Connell, they're like, we're going to run the ball and play good defense, and we're going to try to win games 17-13. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Antonio Pierce strikes me as a man as well. He's not afraid of having a workhorse running back. I think they're going to feed Zamir White as much as he can get. And to your point, like Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, these guys are going to be dropping back 40 times a game.
No.
It's going to be a defense running team. It's going to be the identity of the team, for better or worse. They're probably going to run the ball more than they should.
How about the hate list here, Matthew, where, listen,
by the way,
off with
Dropkick Murphy's playing.
Yeah.
A little shipping up to Boston.
It's like more
really
derby than derby day.
Yeah, exactly. I really wish I had some Dollaritas right now to just pound those guys and just, be at the bar.
Have some Dollaritas. Watch The Departed as well, which this song
dominated in Louisville.
I will say what's great is like everyone obviously dresses up for the Derby on Saturday. Great suits, big hats for the women, right? Floral dresses, the whole thing. And then on Friday, tomorrow, the Oaks, when it's the Phillies, and so everyone wears pink. But Derby has become a thing, as you see some of these crowd shots as well. Like everyone's dressed up here.
Yeah.
It's like it's a big crowd here that's only going to continue to get going again. First race of the day, 12:45, which will happen right behind us live right here on Peacock. Very excited. We can now turn to the hate list, and it's the usual names.
Well,
Connor.
I mean, we talked about the impact on Kyren Williams. And Kyren Williams, obviously, Matthew, is going to headline the hate list today.
Look, he was entirely volume-based. Like, he's not an explosive guy, right? This is a guy that needs volume to be fantasy relevant. And with Blake Corum there, who could steal goal line touches or steal work, that's a concern. Corum, of course, had 27 rushing touchdowns in 2023. He is a red zone threat. And then Chuba Hubbard, who looking like, he was sort of the guy down the stretch. And in free agency, when the Panthers didn't add anyone, you're like, oh, maybe he's going to be the guy. But no, Jonathan Brooks will take over this backfield at some point when he's healthy. Dave Canales talking about this at the NFL Combine about how, similar to what he did with Rachaad White in Tampa Bay, he wants to run sort of one guy and be committed to the run. So Brooks, who's just a better player than Chuba Hubbard, feels like Hubbard is somebody whose fantasy value will decrease as the season goes on and Brooks gets healthier.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.